Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, pop culture, social media, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. Thank you to all of you on Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute for your continued support. It is greatly appreciated. Here it is, 2020, and I'm hoping you guys here on YouTube hit that like button and comment so that we can show that algorithm that content of a conservative nature is most welcome here on this platform, particularly since many normies come here to get a lot of their content and perhaps stumble across news or commentary that would provide them with information and an understanding of what is actually going on. So I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support.
We start things off from Glen Greenwald. Democrats are such authoritarians that they really do believe Department of Justice charges are tantamount to truth. Yes, Merrick Garland, after a year of refusing to do so, capitulated to mounting pressure and attacks from Dems by finally charging sedition. Everything in this video was true. So the interesting thing about today's video, this Friday vlog, are things that we have talked about here either on YouTube as content creators or here on the BuzWeaver channel, as well as items that we have touched on throughout the years, as it were, or even within the pandemic year and the events of January 6th, among many of the political issues and strife in the culture war. But as you can see here, we started off with Glen Greenwald, who was addressing the issue on the Capitol 6th mostly peaceful protest. And in these particular articles and tweets and news stories that have come out that have received a lot of criticism because, of course, of their nature. And that is, as we always have said, and when it comes to the left, the progressives, and the Democrats, it isn't about the Constitution. It isn't about our Bill of Rights. It isn't about our laws. It's about outcomes and affecting outcomes, the influence within the culture war, and being able to persuade people to come to their tribe. And of course, they censor any sort of dissenting voices, and they use censorship not to make sure that people aren't hearing things they shouldn't, but the fact that they use censorship to silence voices that may provide solutions, benefits, or better ideas than they have. We see here, out of Virginia, one of the biggest changes in Virginia that was long due, well overdue, where we saw just a complete collapse of a Democrat establishment authoritarianism being taken down. So liberals, criminals first, victim last mindset, freed cop harmers, and a word I can't say here on YouTube, serving life sentences, Virginia AG says. So Virginia's new Attorney General, Jason Miyares, says he's launched investigations into the previous Loudoun County, Virginia School Board and the state's last parole board in an effort to restore accountability and transparency now that Governor Glen Youngkin has been sworn in. What an amazing change for Virginia that was going through so much. You guys may remember the father that went to the school board meeting and then was wrestled by the police officers after his daughter was approached by a transgender individual who did certain items to her person, as you can imagine. Youngkin fired Virginia's entire school board, and AG Miyares fired 30 staff members, including 17 attorneys, soon after taking office. You had two huge scandals that hit Virginia, while the far-left liberal monopoly was in control the last 2 years. That's right. For 2 years, people in Virginia had to suffer under the tyranny, under the tyrannical behavior, under the authoritarianism of the left. And now we're going to see a huge change, a huge relief. I hope this is a sign of the future come the midterms this year. Now, early voting here, at least in Georgia, could start as early as June. I'm not sure how early it could be for different states because each state has their own particular laws. But we're seeing these huge changes now. We're seeing things that we discussed, that we talked about throughout the year or years recently that are starting to come into fruition. Things that we talked about, things that were concerning, things that we pointed out as conservatives, as moderates, as classical liberals, as Green Party members, and others who I would say use a more rational, cogent, common sense approach to things versus the radical, irrational left, and even the Democrats who become victim of their own progressivism, their own ilk of progressives who are affecting them. And of course, we saw what happened during the 2020 election, where all of them worked together in a cabal, as Molly Ball says in her article about how they all work together to fortify election for a desired outcome. And we're seeing more of this coming out now from Click to Houston. River Oaks doctor suspended from Houston Methodist over review of C-19 vaccine to file lawsuit, attorneys say. A Houston Methodist doctor who was thrust into the spotlight in November after her privileges were suspended because of her views on vaccines and early treatment for C-19 has plans to file a lawsuit against the hospital system. Now, long story short, she basically used ivermectin to treat patients. And she also had concerns about types of individuals that were getting vaccines. And of course, as we always say here, I'm not trying to dismiss the pandemic or dampen it down or make light of it. I'm simply saying consult your medical professional before you have any sort of a procedure, because the federal government, Fauci, Democrats, the left, progressives, they don't know your medical history, nor is it their business. It isn't the government's business to know what our medical history is. It isn't the government's business to dictate to us how to treat ourselves for medical conditions. We need to speak to a medical professional who can speak to us, know our allergies, know our histories, know what surgeries we've had, know what procedures we've had, know what our allergies are, know what our medications are. Very common sense, scientific method approaches. But of course, if you're not towing the narrative, then you get suspended from your job, or of course you have other issues. Now, we've learned as of the recent ruling by SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, who said that a vaccine mandate could not be implemented, at least via OSHA. But Joe Biden did encourage these same businesses to continue to implement a vaccine mandate, which businesses can do. Now, how this is going to affect their employees, how this is going to affect their businesses overall, because we saw, I think it was Citibank, and even one of my favorite companies, I was very disheartened to hear about this, no pun intended here, but Carhartt, one of my favorite work clothing manufacturers that I really, really enjoy their products. Now, we don't have the full context of what was said by Carhartt. We just know that a letter was passed around, circulating on social media. Of course, a lot of things on social media get passed around without levels of authentication. But nonetheless, there was a letter from Carhartt saying that they were going to proceed with mandates. And there are companies and businesses that are going to move forward with the mandate because they can do that within their private business, as opposed to the federal government making people have a procedure done on their person when they can't. Now, of course, so how is this continuing to escalate? Well, we saw just last night, breaking, Tim Pool gets swatted again during Timcast IRL. So this is why I tell you guys who watch this on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute to like and comment, engage with the content, because this is what we're dealing with. See, Tim Pool is bringing on some very interesting, maybe some controversial figures onto his show who are making sense, who are able to provide ideas and concepts that are reasonable, that are rational, that are common sense based, that people can relate to. Because as Tim said, the left is essentially a cult. And to keep all the cult members in line, they form into their own little echo chambers. And so if you take one of those people out of that particular cult and allow them to experience reasonable, rational, cogent, common sense thought, maybe they'll realize, hey, I'm involved in something that didn't allow me to have free thinking. I'm involved with something that didn't allow me to have critical thinking. So as we can see here, the escalation continues, and it's going to be a very wild ride in 2022, approaching the midterms, because like we saw in Virginia, there's going to be massive changes in Virginia now, because one of the first things that Youngkin did was he got rid of critical race theory, among many things that he's going to be doing there. And of course, his AG fired, 30 staff members, including 17 attorneys. So they're getting busy with this, and the left can see it coming. And they're going after to them, I guess, would be dissenting voices like Tim Pool, like Sticks Hexenhammer. And fortunately for us here on the BuzWeaver channel, we're still very small. So we don't get a lot of that negative type attention, although it does come to me from time to time. But with your guys' support, we continue to reach more of these voices. And probably some of the most common things I get from individuals in the new tech is, why am I still on YouTube? Why am I still on Twitter? Why am I still on Facebook? And that is because that's where normies go. That's what normies know. Those are platforms that they can identify with, and they probably participate at some level with those and engage with it. So if all conservative voices were to leave these platforms, then normies would have no way to determine or know the differences between what the left is saying and perhaps what more common sense, rational, cogent, conservative people are thinking themselves. So it's very important that we continue here. Your guys' support of the channel is always very important, especially now in the midterms, because things are going to get pretty wild. But I've not had an opportunity yet to listen to what happened last night. Now, I saw it as it was breaking, but as you can see here on Odyssey, for example, if you guys didn't know, I am on Odyssey, so make sure to follow me. And if you see here, Timcast IRL swatted again last night. Strange man broke onto our property. We are pressing charges. Now, of course, it was a different individual who did the initial swatting that we covered here on the channel a week and a half ago. So he's now been swatted yet again. And this is the continuing march. This is the angst-filled, hate-filled individuals who are continuing to pursue conservative voices, moderates, classical liberals, Green Party, just people that aren't, as what Tim says, in the cult of the left. So we can see all this kind of unfolding as of this week. And this is what I had for you guys. And of course, I've covered more material on this sort of activity against President Trump as well on the channel. So you guys can go to the channel and check those out. So this is what we had for you guys this week, this Friday, January the 21st.
All right, guys. So that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the comments. Below this video, you can find the various social media links that I belong to, where you guys can follow my daily posting content. And of course, if you are following on Rumble, BitChute, and or Odyssey, make sure you guys leave a comment down below those as well, because I appreciate all of you guys on Alt Tech. And appearing right there on the screen, that would be the channel icon for YouTube specifically. You guys can click on that icon and or below the video, whether you're on phone or PC. There's a little red button that says subscribe. Make sure you click on that so that we can show the algorithm that conservative commentary is most welcome here on YouTube. And I'll see all you guys right there behind that camera next week.